King Jack on the button, standard open, flat. Alright, I got a lot of backdoor equity here. Any queen, any jack, any king, any ace I can probably rep, any 9, any 8. I mean, it's a lot of cards, so I definitely am never folding, especially to his bet. But I wouldn't raise much, so I don't really like raising this flop so much, because I'm like never raising. Maybe if I raise wide for value, I don't mind that at all, like raise to 8 with like 10x or something like that. I don't know. I don't know enough about this player. My HUD stopped working, so. And then I turn the queen, and he bets small. It's just such an obvious raise. Like, I can't see a world where this isn't a raise. And he folds and scoop. And then when I'm raising there, I have, I might have queen 10, I'm not sure. I probably have queen 7 or something like that on occasion, queen 7 suited. Maybe just queen X, like, I don't know. And then, like, bluff with all my flush draws and straight draws. Like, obviously, you don't want to be, you're not trying to play game theory optimal. I should have said that earlier. You're not trying to remain balanced. Like, the idea is, it's a standard game, like, you know, maybe remain balanced because you don't know what your opponents are doing. But, like, the cool thing about semi-bluffing draws and then is that, like, if your opponent is folding every time you raise with a set, then raise with more flush draws, raise with more straight draws, raise with more air. You know, he's folding exploitably every time, so, you know, why just wait until you have a monster to force him to fold? Like, you can do that with any 2 cards. But then if he's always calling your semi-bluffs, then stop semi-bluffing. You know, play less suited connectors, pre-flop, get to the flop with less, float less, don't do it with backdoor draws, just fold the backdoor equity, and then raise 2 pair plus, and take him to value town. Like, these hands, you know, like, your opponent knows that you're capable of both, but he will never know the frequency with which you're capable of doing either. You know what I mean? So, when it comes down to it, it's basically like fooling around with draws and 2 pair plus to best suit your opponent. So you should know in every spot, like, on the turn, like, is he bet calling way too often? Because if he is, then you should be highly weighted toward 2 pair plus. Is he bet folding way too often? Is he betting way too thin for value and then folding to the raise? Well, then, in that case, you should be semi-bluffing a ton and try to get to the turn a ton, because you're going to take down a ton of money every time you float and then just raise the turn. So, you know, toy around with those ranges. You're not trying to remain balanced. You're trying to remain exploitative. In an exploitable way, obviously, but... so in this flop, maybe this is one of those scenarios where I thought, oh, okay, well... in this spot, I'm probably raising diamonds. I probably would have bet with my clubs, but I'm not sure because it's such a wet board. I might just check them. Jack 10 as well. I'd expect to get raised like way too often. And then we turn the nuts, so I'd be here with a lot of backdoor draws, and then, you know, I just happen to have the nuts this time. He's going to have ace jack or something like that on occasion. This guy's going to have, you know, some kind of set or like pot fives or some kind of draw like way too often. Like, it's just a raise. Let's get it in. We have the nuts. And, like... they're also, like, I think that he's bet folding way too often. Like, I love raising here with a semi-bluff because it just looks so strong when you semi-bluff here. Like, I don't know. It just, because this smacks our range. Like, it looks like we have 6-7 every time, 8-9 every time, like, a set every time. I don't know, like, we have so many big hands here. Like, you have to be semi-bluffing, like, all these hands, too. I love it. Because of that, like, you know, think about it, like, don't just, like, look at your range and how it relates to the board, but now relate your range and the board to your opponent's range. The big man, you know, checks this flop, probably trying to induce something or pot controlling or something. I'm not really sure why you would bet the flop and then, or check the flop, bet the turn, maybe the diamonds. So I think that he's got kind of like a bluff catcher-ish range, and I can force him off a lot of that on the river sometimes. And then Bruce Ochsner would have bet the flop with, like, anything, so he's got, like, nothing ever. So while I had the nuts this time, like, I want to be semi-bluffing here a ton. So that's how I would have weighted my range. And I think this is just another hand where I raise the turn because I have the nuts instead of, you know... yeah. Obviously, I'd be raising here with club draws and 4x if I believed that he was folding too often. I'm obviously never not raising the boat. Love it. So we just call with middle pair on the flop, I believe, and the flush draw. I kind of like raising, but I think that the range might be like super strong. Like if your opponent's only really getting it in with like 2 pair plus, then the fact that you have a pair plus flush draw doesn't really make a difference. It's kind of just a flush draw. Especially three-way, like if someone has a set, we're still crushed despite the fact that we have a monster draw, the pair plus flush draw thing. I don't know, it really depends on the opponent's, I'm not going to go too into depth on the flop play because this is about the turn scenario, but I'd be floating pretty wide with like Jack 10, I'd be raising with Jack 10 on the turn, I'd be raising with 2 pair on the turn, I guess. I probably would have raised the flop with like King Queen, deuces plus and stuff like that, but so I think that's why I should have done it on the flop. But if I was to call with all of those, obviously that's a pretty decent value range. I've got a lot of bluffs here. It's nice to have a pair plus flush draw in this range sometimes. So pretty just obvious. I mean, I should have just bluffed the flop. I think it's not a very good example. I think I'm going to call it quits. This video is getting pretty long. I hope this, helped you guys understand how semi-bluffing the turn and can balance your 2 pair plus, and more importantly, how you should adjust your semi-bluffing range based on not just board texture and your own range, but based on your opponent, how often he's folding. If someone's going to bet fold a lot and try to get thin value and get to max value with his top pair kicker hands, then you should be semi-bluffing him a lot and forcing him to bet fold way too often for him to remain profitable. If he's not getting thin value, if he's just not value betting the turn very wide, then you really can't be semi-bluffing nearly as much. So you want to float the flop less. You want to get to the turn with less semi-bluffs, and you can consider just calling with the semi-bluffs if it's not profitable to bluff. This all starts pre-flop. Select the opponent's, keep the player note that the opponent will bet fold the turn, that he's capable of thin value betting. Those are the players that you want to semi-bluff, because they're bet folding. They're folding equity shares, nonetheless. It's not just air, which you already beat. So against those people, I'm going to call with a lot more suited connectors because I expect them to be more profitable. Against other players that are just going to pot control and not really reach max value, then I really don't want to play suited connectors because I'm not getting paid off when I make my monsters, and I'm not going to force many folds from thin value bets. The pots are just going to remain small. I might as well just not try to make a hand and allow him to take down a big blind, then losing quite a bit of money. Either trying to bluff him when he has 2 pair plus, because that's pretty much just his value range, or his turn barrel range, or trying to make a big hand to win a small pot. It's just not worth it. So pre-flop, use pre-flop selection to alter your turn raising selection or your turn raising range. Obviously, flop floating can change based on what you want to do with your semi-bluffs. So float more often with backdoor equity if you want to semi-bluff your opponent on the turn very often. Adjust every range because everything's connected. No street is independent of one another. So I hope this helped you guys out, and have a great day.